You see him regularly, and you had seen him on NBC Sports handling Premier League coverage. And now he has taken a leave of absence from NBC Sports to run for the presidency of U.S. Soccer. And Kyle Martino joins us here on the show. Kyle, good morning. Kyle, good morning. You there? Let's get Kyle to a better service area as the Warrior has booked Kyle Martino, but we got to make sure that the Warrior can actually properly put Kyle Martino on hold and get him to a decent service area so we can talk to him. He's going to dial him back right now, so not a great early start for the Warrior in the power chair today.
The 30-pitch first inning.
U.S. Soccer is, at this point in time, under the heat lamp, under the gun. And I think it needs to be. There needs to be a magnifying glass taken and looked at all levels so that this never happens again, because this is a huge missed opportunity. So Kyle Martino joins us here on the show now. Kyle, good morning.
There we go. I've got you.
Good. How you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm getting some family time in before this incredible fight to bring this game back on track begins. And the people who support me most and the people I do it for are my wife and my two kids. And I'm showing them that Dad needs their help, needs their support, and then I'm jumping in the fray.
So John Gruden and Bill Cowher are always talked about as the next head coaches of X. And I go, they're not leaving. It's too good a job to sit in the studio or to be at games and call games. And I say, why did Jay Cutler come back? It's too good a job to sit in the studio and call games. You were able to sit in studios and call games. You were able to call games from the road, and you now want to jump into the fray for a volunteer position. Why would you want to leave the comfort of that job for this one?
Yeah, it sounds crazy, doesn't it? And it is a bit crazy. I have my dream job. I absolutely have my dream job, and I do it with my dream team. Rebecca Lowe, Robbie Musto, Robbie Earl, and the guys over in England, we have something special, and we built something special. And this is the hardest thing I've ever had to do, the hardest decision I've ever had to make. I'm leaving my dream job because U.S. Soccer needs me right now, and president of U.S. Soccer was never my dream job. But when I was little, I had a dream when I played in my backyard, and I did the commentary for myself when I was a little kid, and the jersey went down to my knees, and I was doing the commentary for scoring a goal in the World Cup final. I had a dream that this game in this country would be treated and loved like it is around the world, and that dream's in jeopardy right now because of the decisions being made at the top of the U.S. soccer pyramid. And you know, the low point of the World Cup, I mean, as a fan, I'm heartbroken. But as someone in the game with experience, with credibility, and with a network to change things, to mobilize the soccer community, I felt awful about myself that I wasn't doing enough. And I was, from my comfy studio, just criticizing or trying to point to things that needed to be done. And I got to the point where I just felt that's not enough. That's absolutely not enough. So it's time that I leave the comfortable confines of the studio and step into the fray so that I can help save this game.
So I played soccer growing up, and I've worked with MLS, and I love the game, and I love U.S. men's national team soccer, and it's heartbreaking for all of us that love the game to not see it at the biggest level playing in the World Cup next year. What I saw, one of your quotes in the New York Times that I loved was, we don't need a CEO running this. We need a soccer person running this, because the business of soccer is great and healthy and booming. Why do we need a soccer guy, yourself, to be running it?
Because it's not U.S. business, it's U.S. soccer. And you have to remember what is the actual business side of this company, if you were to call it that. The product is soccer, and we don't have soccer product experts making the big decisions, whether it be picking coaches, but more importantly, that's surface-level stuff. You could have gotten Pep Guardiola to coach the U.S. men, and they still probably would have struggled to qualify for the World Cup. The big picture is no one's looking at why soccer in America, leading all the way up to the top of the pyramid, is struggling. Why with $300 million in this country and the resources we have have a small nation feel and a small nation product on the field. We need to look at the structure and go all the way down and start with the youth and what we're doing wrong there. Because if you fix the top of this, you're going to be destined to completely repeat all of these failures and end up where we were before. The stagnation is because the focus isn't on the right things. And the reason the focus isn't on the right things is because you have businessmen who aren't soccer guys making good decisions that help the budget that's grown to about $150 million surplus. And that's a remarkable accomplishment in a sort of 8 to 10 year period to be able to double that. But again, profits have come at the cost of progress. And my dad worked at IBM for 35 years and would always tell me of the best CEOs. They were the guys that hired smarter people than them around them. And right now we have incredibly smart men running U.S. soccer. A big problem is they're fearful to hire people smarter than them in the soccer space to fix these problems. But one major problem I have is it's a lot of smart men. Up the pyramid, when you look at the U.S. soccer structure, there aren't a lot of women executives, but this is very much a women's game. Our women's team is that's our success. Our women are the Brazil and Argentina and Germany and Spain of the women's game. They're treated like second-class citizens. They're not given equal pay. They're forced to play on artificial surfaces. I mean, these are our World Cup winners. These are world-class athletes. So I just look at the negligence in soccer decisions as one big problem. I just look at the fact that we think this is a U.S. men's national team problem as an enormous issue when you think about other nations in the women's game catching us and surpassing us.
Kyle Martino, our guest here on the DA Show on CBS Sports Radio. So the acting U.S. soccer president is Sunil Gulati. Do you feel like he does not hire people that are smarter than him? Is he the problem that you're talking about?
Well, Sunil is an incredibly smart man. He's an economist professor at Columbia. It's hard to hire too many smarter people than him, but there's a plethora of people who are smarter than him in the soccer space, and that's been his weak spot. That's his blind spot, not hiring soccer experts or having soccer experts in the U.S. soccer structure. Because believe me, this is not a blow the whole thing up approach. There are many people who are capable, competent, and qualified to make good soccer decisions within the U.S. soccer structure, but they're not given any power. They're not given the authority to do these things. So Sunil has insulated himself a bit in his position to not have to take advice from soccer experts. And that's clear. That's not speculative. That's one of the reasons we're at this low point in U.S. soccer's history. But Sunil deserves credit for a couple things. One, the business model that I just explained. You know, Sunil has helped put that in place on the commercial side, growing revenue, and we need to protect those accomplishments, and we need to respect Sunil for doing that. But that goes back to what you said before. It's much easier now to keep the business side moving and to keep the inertia of that going than it is to fix the soccer side. So we don't really need a businessman now. We need a soccer PhD. But you have to be able to and be willing to work with Sunil. Listen, it's irrelevant whether you like Sunil or not. I spoke, and I was one of the first to criticize Sunil and say it was time to move on from him. No one else was willing to do that because of his political power. I did that from my position because I knew that it was time for change. We had to move on from Sunil. But we don't move on completely from Sunil because his greatest accomplishment is getting a seat on the FIFA Council at the big table. I mean, that's incredible that there's a U.S. soccer voice up at the top of the soccer food chain globally. And he's going to stay there, whether he's president or not. He's going to stay on the World Cup bid for 2026, whether we like it or not. So whoever becomes president, I'm seeing some candidates just criticizing him and throwing him under the bus. Yeah, he deserves to get criticism in certain areas, but you have to have a symbiotic relationship with Sunil Gulati right now, because missing out on the World Cup was bad for the men, but missing the World Cup in 2026, not being able to win that bid and bring that enormous, amazing, greatest event on earth tournament back to the States, if we miss that, that's catastrophic. So I see people with the lack of political nous to understand you need a strategic relationship with Sunil, whether you like him or not. And listen, I've made no secret of the fact that I don't get along with Sunil. I'm not his shill. But as far as business is concerned and the business of U.S. soccer, I respect Sunil, and I'll work with him to get us that World Cup, and I'll work with him to fix this program. But I want him to leave me alone and run U.S. soccer, and I'm going to leave him alone to go on the FIFA Council and help get this country what they need in terms of soccer.
I would love to pick your brain for another 10 or 20 minutes, but we're up against the break. Would you do me a favor, and as we creep closer to this election, can we do this again?
Absolutely. My phone is always open. You've got my number. Let's do it again.
Let's do it. Kyle Martino joining us here. He is going in for presidency of the U.S. Soccer. Thanks so much, Kyle.
Thanks, guys.